an innocent woman is stoned to death because of her abusive husband's lie. Welcome back to Movies Explained. Today's film is a suspense drama from 2008 titled The Stoning of Soraya M. The film opens on a desert road in Iran, where a French-Iranian journalist, Fridoun Sahibyam, finds himself stranded due to a car breakdown. As Fridoun waits for assistance, a small bus comes along and offers to tow his vehicle to the nearby village of Kuhbaye. Meanwhile, a woman named Zara sees Fridoun entering the city while she is out burying bones and tattered cloth. When Zara returns to Kuhbaye, she notices that Fridoun is attempting to persuade the local mechanic named Hashim to fix his car. When Fridoun tells Hashim that he would pay more than the standard rate, Hashim finally agrees. Zara realizes that Fridoun might be a journalist from the tape recorder that he carries in his bag, so she approaches him and says something about a dark secret of the village. However, she is interrupted and shooed by the mayor, Ibrahim, and the mullah Sheikh Hassan. The men, who are evidently disturbed by the journalist's presence in their village, call Zara crazy and try to pry into Fridoun's personal life before they invite him for lunch. Fridoun refuses their offer and instead heads to a cafe where Zara throws a paper ball at him to get his attention. He opens up the ball to reveal a bone and a map to Zara's house. Later, Fridoun decides to sneak towards Zara's place. She notices his arrival and sends his niece's daughters inside before preparing some tea for her guest. She wants Fridoun to listen and record her story, and he agrees. The story is about Zara's niece, Soraya Manuchehri, who was a mother of 2 sons and 2 daughters. Her husband, Ali, was very abusive and often hurt Soraya. A few weeks ago, Ali informed Soraya that he wanted to divorce her to marry Mary, a 14-year-old girl. However, Soraya refused since she knew she wouldn't be able to take care of the children alone. So, Ali asked Hassan to talk her into accepting the divorce, even blackmailing Hassan with his criminal past when he initially refused. Reluctantly, Hassan came to Soraya's house to talk about the divorce, not knowing that Zara was listening in. Despite Ali's terms of letting Soraya keep their daughters and the house, she still refused the divorce because it wouldn't be enough to cover their expenses. So, Hassan offered to provide for her and her daughters with the condition that Soraya becomes his mistress. Hearing this, Zara came out of hiding and angrily yelled at Hassan for disrespecting Soraya before she kicked him out. She then asked her niece about her marriage, to which Soraya only responded by showing Zahra the bruises Ali gave her. Later, Ali comes home and immediately scolds Soraya for making him look like a fool, since she won't accept his divorce. He had no issue about mentioning Mary and his plans to wed her in front of their children, even manipulating their sons to turn against their own mother. When Soraya says that Ali is a bad husband for not providing for her and their daughters, her oldest son defends Ali, saying that she shouldn't talk that way to a man. Soraya was so mad that she ended up throwing the plates to the floor and breaking them, which Ali told her to repay him for. At that point, Soraya snapped and tried to leave the house with her daughter. Even when Ali hit her and told her to stay, she pushed through and escaped to Zara's house. Zara promised Soraya that she'd ask for the mayor's help, confident that he'd agree since he used to be infatuated with Zara. Suddenly, Hashim barged in and asked Zara to help his dying wife, as the doctor was away. While hurrying to Hashim's house, Zara saw Ali in his car with another woman. When she arrives at Hashim's house, his wife has already passed away. The only thing she could do now was help prepare her body for the burial, while Soraya prevented the other female villagers from looting the dead wife's belongings. After they finished taking care of Hashim's wife's body, Zara had a talk with Hassan. He said Hashim needed someone to help around the house and look after his son. Hassan thought Soraya could do the job. Zara agreed, but she made it clear that Soraya would get paid fairly and that her husband, Ali, couldn't touch the money. After Hassan agreed to her terms, Zara was cautioned by Ibrahim about her outspoken nature, warning her that it could lead to trouble. Soraya started working at Hashem's place, and both he and his son were thankful for her help. She didn't know that Ali was watching her from afar. Things were looking up for Soraya. Hashem treated her well, and she was earning her own money. She even saved some with Zara, hoping to eventually have enough to support herself and her daughters without relying on Ali. Ali was upset with his wife's improving condition, so he told Hassan that Soraya was cheating with Hashem. Hassan didn't believe him since he knew Soraya was not promiscuous. But Ali was determined to find a witness to take Soraya to court, as he didn't want to support her financially anymore. Soon, a rumor about Soraya being unfaithful spread through the village. By the next morning, Zara had heard the gossip from other villagers. Meanwhile, Soraya was having a nice day out with her daughters, picking flowers in a field. They brought the flowers back to decorate Hashem's house. When Hashem got home, he saw the effort Soraya put in and asked her to stay for dinner, but she refused his offer. The next day, Zara overheard Ibrahim listening to Ali's accusation of his wife alongside Hassan. Ibrahim said he needed evidence or witnesses to put Soraya on trial, but when Zara confronted him about siding with Ali, he implied that Ali's accusation might be true, causing Zara to slap him. Zara immediately warned Soraya about this plot, but she thought that Zara was paranoid. At the same time, Ali and Hassan met with Hashem to ask him about how Soraya behaves towards him. They also offered him a contract that he could not read, causing the already uncomfortable Hashem to leave. However, the two wouldn't back down, and instead threatened to put Hashem's son in prison or a mental hospital if he didn't agree to be a witness on Soraya's trial. Hashem was forced to play along with the lies, mentioning that Soraya talked to him like a wife would, and even slept on his bed. Armed with a strong witness, Ali forcefully threw Soraya to the street and started beating her up while saying she was a cheater. Zara tried to intervene and yelled at him for causing a scene on such a private matter. She instructs her neighbor to call Ibrahim and then hide Soraya in her house. Ali followed the women into the house, followed by Ibrahim, who heard Ali saying that he saw Soraya holding hands and whispering with Hashem, which is his evidence for her cheating. Zara argued that Soraya was just being kind, and that wasn't a crime. But then Hashem arrived, forced to give the false story Ali and Hassan had pressured him into. Based on Hashem's words, Ibrahim decided that Soraya would be put on trial. The village men, including Ibrahim, Hassan, Ali, his sons, and even Soraya's father, Morteza, gathered for Soraya's trial. Soraya wasn't allowed to say anything in her defense. Shockingly, Morteza declared that his daughter was guilty of cheating on her husband, and her punishment would be death by stoning. When Zara heard the verdict, she desperately tried to help Soraya escape. But the men blocked them, and realizing there was no way out, Soraya resigned herself to her fate. She tearfully handed her jewelry to her daughters as a final goodbye and made Zara promise to tell them the truth when they were old enough to understand. The whole village seemed to be getting ready for the stoning. Some men were digging a hole and gathering stones, while Ibrahim prayed, questioning if they were doing the right thing. Hassan was preoccupied with grooming himself. Back at home, Soraya attempted to bid farewell to her sons, but her eldest son pulled his brother away, rejecting their mother. This rejection hit Soraya hard and she broke down crying. Zara did her best to offer comfort, tenderly brushing Soraya's hair and singing to her, trying to provide some comfort in her final moments. The dreadful day of Soraya's stoning arrived. As she and Zara stepped out the door, they were met by an angry crowd. The two women walked together, trying to ignore the insults hurled at Soraya by the mob of men. When they finally reached the stoning venue, Ibrahim and Hassan repeated Soraya's verdict and the punishment Soraya would receive from it, which was to be stoned to death. This caused the attending villagers to cheer in excitement. Out of nowhere, their gathering was disrupted by a van full of traveling entertainers, looking to advertise their upcoming show at the village market. But the performers were quickly driven off, and the focus returned to the stoning. Soraya's veil was removed, and she was bound before being placed into a hole that had been dug in the ground. Only her upper body was left visible. The rest of her was buried, making escape impossible. In a last act of desperation, Zara tried to stop the crowd, pleading to take Soraya's place. But the men pulled Zara away, determined to carry out the stoning of Soraya. Morteza, Soraya's father, was the first to cast stones at her, but shockingly, he missed both times. A whisper went through the crowd suggesting it might be a divine sign of Soraya's innocence, but it was quickly ignored. The second person to throw a stone was Ali, and this time, his stone hit Soraya right on her head, causing her to bleed down her face. Despite Soraya's cries, Hassan went next, followed by Soraya's own sons. Hashem was urged to throw a stone as well, but he was tormented by the knowledge of Soraya's innocence and the brutality of the act. Unable to bear the sight, he left with his son. Now the whole village joined in throwing stones at Soraya until she was covered in blood and no longer moved. After her death, the crowd dispersed, leaving her body unattended. The traveling performers who had been turned away earlier returned, covering Soraya's body with a cloth in a gesture of respect. As night fell and the villagers celebrated, Zara and her friends came back. They dug Soraya's body out of the ground and carried her to the river, giving her a final, peaceful resting place. This is the end of Zara's story. Back in the present, Fridun stops his recorder and takes out the tape. He sets it on the table just as Hashem comes in to tell him his car is ready and he can leave the village. They walk towards Hashem's shop and see Ali driving past with Hassan, discussing Ali's failed attempt to marry Mary. Her father called off the wedding because Ali couldn't fulfill a promise, which was a condition for marrying Mary. Hashem is furious, realizing he lied for nothing, and Ibrahim overhears this. Hashem confesses that Ali and Hassan had threatened him to lie about Soraya. Ibrahim, a devout man, is outraged by this sin and wants to confront Hassan. But there's an urgent problem. They can't let Fridun leave with the tape that proves Soraya was wrongfully stoned. Fridun tries to get away in his car, ignoring the men shouting after him, but he's stopped by revolutionary guards under Hassan's command, who holds him at gunpoint. They demand the tapes, insisting they won't let him go until they're destroyed. As Fridun is leaving the village, Zara rushes to him and hands him the tape with Soraya's story that he'd left behind. He drives off in a hurry, and as his car starts to fail again, Zara stands between him and the men. Despite stones thrown at his car, Fridun manages to escape. The movie comes to an end as Zara is relieved, knowing that her niece's story will finally be shared with the world. Fridun is set to publish the story as a book, which is destined to become a bestseller internationally. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos.